understand that we are ready to go. We're going to reconvene the county council meeting on February 2nd, 2017. This is a kind of a workshop forum. It's something that three of us kind of campaigned on, and what we wanted to do was basically anything goes. It's a chance to share our thoughts. We've had 3 meetings now with the senior members of the council, but we thought this would be a good chance to share some of our thoughts, some of your thoughts, and among other things, as required by the council, we set agendas, which is part of the charter, requires us to set certain goals and objectives, which I'll start by leading that into my first comment, which is the state of the county, which will be held, Betty, the date of the county, April 18th, and at the Ocean Center. It will be open to the public. I'm arranging support right now from the private sector, so there will be very little, if any, cost or expense to the council. And
is there a fee to attend?
No fee to attend.
If they're gonna charge us.
And to get started, what I would like to do is, and this is not something that you have to follow, but it's one that we've used in the past for our state of the city. And I have the video for each of you to look at to show you how it's inclusive of each individual council member. And each of you will have a part of representing something in your district to show something that has happened. The theme of this year's State of the County will be Reflection for Vision. So that's going to be that. I have any number of sponsors, and one of the things that we're, if you pass those, there's a printed program and then also a video. It's about a 25-minute video. Everything will be timed, and I want it to be inclusive of all of us to be a part of it. It's not going to be the Ed Kelly or Jim Deneen show. It's going to be the county council show to let the people know what we have done and where we plan to go. So if we can come up with some specific goals and objectives, and I know we have a list of budget workshops, which I'm assuming we could count some of those as goals and objectives. And one of the goals and objectives that I would like to throw out, I'm sure that y'all have already done, is to continue along the path of tax rates and revenues, and to set a goal of where you want to be on that. And that's one of those. And Jim, I know you and I have talked about that, and that is to proceed forward, to go forward with the go to zero. So that's going to be one, and these are things that we can measure at the end of this year when it ends. In the future, all of the state of the county will be done after September 30th at any time, maybe even October or November, because we're coming in late and it hadn't been done. We're going to do this one, and then we'll do another one at the end. So that's that part of it, and at the Ocean Center. And that's my first one. I'll give you one more thought. And this is, you don't have to raise your hand or do anything. You can just start talking, kind of understanding whoever is talking. I looked at the advisory boards that we have appointments for coming up in March or before March. And I just wondered if you've had a review to see how effective or efficient, or if there's any way to combine some of those. Some of them are difficult to even get people to serve on. If there's anything that we can do to look at, I'm just throwing these out there, just saying, Deb, just throwing them out there to look at those. There's a lot of people that we're involved. We want as many people involved as we can possibly have, but we want it to be something that's going to be beneficial to them, to all of us. So just throwing that out, one item.
Well,
Sure.
well, let's just go item by item so we don't get bogged down.
Well, what I was going to do is throw things out there, and then if somebody was going to write things down, and or you can.
Well,
Sure.
let's do advisory boards.
Okay.
The first thing that came in, because you're right, recruiting volunteers, excuse me. You're right, recruiting volunteers for advisory boards is difficult sometimes, and it depends on the board, but the struggle is in combining them is they deal with so many different entities. Like the Children and Families Advisory Board is unique to itself. Our ed authorities, they all stand alone. I mean, each advisory board is unique to its, to the department that it serves or, you know, recommends to. So it would be difficult to do that. What I would like to see us do is recruit, do more PSAs for recruiting in the honor that it means on these advisory boards to help us recruit good members. And sometimes we get folks on these advisory boards, and when it comes time, okay, it's an agenda item. Well, who's gonna make the motion? Who's gonna make the motion to put this person on the advisory board? And sometimes it becomes rote. It's like, let's just get through it. For example, like the advisory boards and my appointees, I will not appoint if I've not spoken with them, if they have not called me, if I don't know them. I think we need to look at their attendance on the advisory boards, because some just think, well, I've been on here forever, I'm gonna get reappointed. I don't think that that's a good philosophy either. But I think we need to do a better job in recruiting. I would like to really see us do that. But I would also like at the other end of that, I would like those that do serve, I would like a little more input from those advisory boards, at least from my appointees. I have a couple members, the one lady who's just great on the BPAC at TPO, I get a written report every month. She's amazing. She's out, so I know what's going on. I don't ask her for that, it's what she does, because she's a great volunteer. So I think if we can lift our volunteers up a little more, honor them even, and let them know that we really need them, because I do, I listen to them, especially. How many of us here get input from any of the volunteers we appoint? Do you, very often?
Occasionally.
Occasionally. I hear from them usually when it's about time for reappointment. So I think I think that would help us tremendously, Ed, seriously, in recruiting quality volunteers and working, you know, on a PSA, and even in your state of the county. I mean, let's think about that.
Great time for recruiting.
Great time, not for recruiting, but even honoring and acknowledging. We've never done that. We've never acknowledged those that serve with us.
There won't be a lot of time. It'll be on schedule, because what I found is 25 to 30 minutes max. And I'm hoping to give each of you at least 2 minutes, which takes up about half of it. And that would be with projects and so forth like that. But it would be certainly a time maybe to acknowledge, obviously acknowledge, but there's so much, as y'all know.
We could give them a table, though. I mean, you know, put the Children and Families Advisory Board over here, put Southeast Volusia Ad Authority over
Well, they will
here, and the
all
HOB
be
board
invited.
there.
It's open. There's no cost for anyone to attend.
No, but I'm
Jim?
saying give them their table, give them some kind of, just subliminal recognition, if you will.
Jim?
How about a suggestion? This is something, you've touched on an issue that's been a real issue around here.
It is.
And, I mean, for a long time, because you have so many boards and it's hard getting good people. Everybody been there knows we've had issues. We've tried recruiting. Do you know what you might want to try? We've never talked about doing this before, is maybe have one of these like work section like this at lunch. Invite as many of your volunteers that want to come.
That's a good idea.
Give them lunch and have a discussion with them, okay? And and all have a discussion about how we can raise awareness. We've never gotten feedback from them either about what's it like being on a board. How could you help us recruit? And you know, it might be a worthwhile endeavor. I think it's one of the real weaknesses we have, is that we've had real problems recruiting people, and if they don't do their job right, it all falls back on you. It all keeps coming back.
It's on.
It's on. Can you hear me? Yeah?
Okay.
No, it's on, all right. So that was a big issue I had in coming into this role, was I was looking at who, you know, I'm supposed to designate people into these different boards, and then also looking at the boards where District 4 has assigned people prior to. I'm not comfortable just saying, you know, and I've had many people stop me, you know, on the street or call me and say, hey, I've been on this board, and just you know, reappoint me, and I'm not comfortable reappointing someone that I've never talked to. You know, I don't know what their attendance record is, I don't know them, I don't know if they're doing a great job, I'm sure they are, so I think it's very important for us to know who's on the boards, and actually have the contact that Deb's talking about too, regular contact and feedback.
I agree with that too, because I've already gotten with Darla and everything. You know, give me some information on this person. Are they good? Have they been showing up? You know, because if they're doing a good job, I'd like to reappoint them.
Right.
But, you know, I don't have that information.
And that was,
I just-
I'm sorry, another issue was them also being told, well, you really only have that one application. So no one else has applied for that position, so you either accept them or find someone else to appoint, but you're.
I think we have to be active participants in the recruiting, the advisory board, simply because if you have people that, even in your campaigning, you may have someone that you know that is good in an area that there's a board, you certainly have the flexibility of calling them and asking if they will serve, giving them the information, and maybe they will serve. What I have done with many of my appointments is that I talk to the people, maybe, and have visited with them, and maybe in their environment, and talk to them. But I think that what has not happened, in my opinion, is that there has been little or no turnover in our boards, that they have been on the boards for forever. And I think when you, in that way, you can't get new ideas if you're preaching to the same choir all the time.
That's right.
And so I just kind of think that we ought to do a better job. But we should have, we got 3 members that are presently new on the board. I'm sure that you have some contacts of people that you know that, and what boards are available that you might have to, and all of us. I mean, and when, sometimes I want to make an appointment because I need to try to recruit someone for that. Can we streamline? Maybe, I don't know if we can. I don't know how many of these boards are mandated that we have.
I think some probably are mandated, some are probably optional. And what we found is that we had boards that wouldn't be able to have a meeting because they didn't have a quorum of people. And I think that's where we can evaluate and look and see, is it because we don't have people that really care about the board they're serving on, or is it because that there's no interest in that board?
But you can't miss but so many meetings
I'm
until
talking-
you're
but-
automatically off.
But there's meetings that have had to be canceled because no one showed up. And then what you just said about people showing up, one of the people that was on the bike ped, he's already been there for 7 years. And he wrote me an email asking to serve again. I said, after we talk, we'll talk and then we'll see. So what you just brought up is exactly right. Maybe there's others out there. I'm just saying that I know that there may be times it's difficult to find people to serve on some boards. On other boards, you're going to be inundated with people. And I had a person stop me on November 8th at 9 o'clock. Your nomination's coming up for boards now. You want to remember me? I said, oh, okay, I'm on top of my list right now.
I voted for you, that's the other
He
one.
did? Well, he was at my celebration party, or whatever you call that thing.
Oh, he'll get appointed.
He'll get a point.
He'll get a
No doubt. I mean, I'm going, what kind of plum are you going to give someone who's going to volunteer their time to serve on a board? I mean, it's not like you're giving them an ambassadorship or something, you know. Or let them go to Spring Hill and serve on that board. But anyway, that's just one. Let me just run one more up the flagpole while we're here. And this is one that was approached. I'll run 1 or 2, and then, because all of y'all need to talk as well. A gentleman approached me about the credits that he's holding right now for impact fees on transportation. We have people out there who've paid in advance large numbers of impact fees for development in their particular area. We're carrying them on our books as a debit. And his thought was, and I know y'all probably have heard this before maybe, And there, I'm just asking if you can look at it to see, part of it makes sense to me, part of it may not. We're not getting a whole lot of money generated from impact fees because a lot of people are holding them where they are. If they could sell their impact fees anywhere, this individual said he would sell his for 20% of what he paid for them. That gets them off of our books. It gets projects developed. And if we can eliminate as many of those impact fee credits that are out there, we can start generating revenue, because the revenue that we're taking off the books has already been generated. It's already been spent, and it's gone. So the more that we can free up, then we can start realizing some money for transportation. Just an additional thought. I would like to just have you look at that to see if that's feasible. I know that I was given numbers of what some hold $1 million, some hold $3 million worth of impact fees, which is a substantial amount. Until they're used up, there's no more impact fees on transportation in those particular areas.
And they can only use them in their district.
And,
Yeah, so,
and,
and then-
right, and so what they're asking is, let them, and I know some that are gonna object, there's gonna be some objection to it, and maybe that's where you need to look at it, but we're not gonna get any money until they're all used up. So, that would be as much of a financial question, as well as a political or a policy decision or not. Pat?
Pat,
then that starts hurting that district there. And I'd hate to see somebody who has 3 million in the Port Orange area come over to DeLand and with impact fee credits, and that hurts the DeLand area. Same thing as somebody
Yeah.
from DeLand going over. So, you could look at that it had to be spent only in that area that it was generated.
And if there's no development that's gonna occur, which they made a bad decision of paying up, and there's not a whole lot of chance for development or redevelopment for impact. Redevelopment wouldn't be that much. If there's not, I don't know what the total number we're holding on the books, but I'm guessing it's probably $6, $8, $10 million.
How much is it, do you know, Donna? We can get that for you. I think it's a topic worth discussing. It's complicated. It really depends on who holds what. And we did make a big change where we allowed it between the districts, because that was the time, you remember that whole thing, Venetian Bay, and how they ended up using them credits. But it really has a lot to do with who holds what and what development's coming. The biggest place we get hurt is where people hold a lot of, or Tomocas, for example, they hold a lot of credits, and then they decide they want to put a development in, and then they say they want to use the credits. So what that means is you build the road, Connie, because we're using our credits, we're not giving you money. Our problem is that we don't have the money to build the road. So it's a topic worth discussing, and we could put something together that kind of outlines where we're at, which would make it easier for you to discuss whether you want to make changes.
Okay.
How's that sound?
Okay, and then that takes that one. I'll do one more, and then I've got to let some others do. And this just has to do with the meeting policy, because I want to do the best I can for all of us for the meetings. One of the things that we found that works, may not work here, but it could. If you have an item on a consent agenda that you want to make a comment on, but you have to pull it to make that comment, what we've done, because you want to recognize what was done, it was of a value, someone did something or whatever it is, make that comment. Don't pull it from the consent agenda, but make a comment on it after the vote. If you're not something that you're against, but you're supportive of, make a positive comment after the vote, because it's not going to affect it unless if nobody pulls it, it's going to pass, right? So if you're only pulling it to say you support it, that's not really, you're doing it to recognize someone or something like that.
The chair's asked me about this, and let me give you an example of how this would work for me. There are times when I know that you would want me to highlight stuff because you believe that the public needs to know about it, number one. Number two, the other thing we get accused of, and I have to watch as manager, is I'm supposed to do my job, or I shouldn't be here, in terms of the things that are on. This is an interesting dilemma that happens when you're on the council. The things that are on the consent agenda, especially if you've been here a while, they don't get on there where we haven't gone over and over and understand what's on there. If I don't understand what's on there, it's not appropriate, then I shouldn't be manager. So those things are routine business. But there are times when they're big enough or whatever that we all believe they need highlighted. And the other thing is, if you don't do that sometimes, people think it's a rubber stamp and it's not transparent. So there are times when I bring them up and there are times when council members bring them up. What I think the chair's suggestion is, I don't have any other mechanism but to pull the item to make a comment to highlight for you. I would be okay if we talk and we want to change this, because it's really, I do the agenda, but if you all want to do these changes, I'm okay with them. If you would say that we would have a comment period, maybe in the beginning, where I wouldn't have to pull them, I could say I have comments on 3 items. So you could do them before, you could do them after, but that way I could at least highlight them, and I wouldn't have to pull them necessarily. So then you wouldn't have to go back and you could, then if I did them, let's say if I did them early, and say I had 2 that I wanted to make a comment on, then you could decide, I'm happy with that, you're still gonna vote for it, then you wouldn't have to bring them back.
And that way, the way this agendas have to work is, which is a lot unique, in that we take those and we work those in wherever we can because of the time certain, which I'm trying to learn to work
can do it
with
either
better.
way.
And so that way, you wouldn't be, and that's the other reason I asked, thank for the hope of y'all's support going to the letters for the consent, because I'm looking for item 18 or 19 or 20 or 30. Is that a consent item or is it not? And it makes it easier. I'm still working through it. I've only got 3 meetings. But I'm just asking if you don't.
It'd be a process where you could make comments on the agenda items without necessarily pulling them. I think that's what he's asking.
Go ahead, Joyce.
Joyce, go ahead.
I was just thinking that would be a good idea, because many times staff is sitting there waiting
Yes.
for agenda items to be heard. So I would think it would be appropriate if we could have them somewhere very close together, so that then you don't tie up the staff and have them sitting around waiting for an item that you pull just to make comments.
Never when the agenda's gonna go along another area, and they're
That's right.
for
Right.
2 hours waiting for us to get back to it.
What I think the chair's getting at, which would be fine, is that if you pull it, then if you pulled it, you probably had a concern with it that you may not vote for.
Right.
What he's saying is, this would give us an opportunity to say that we're gonna comment on ones without pulling them. So what you could do is you could vote for them, knowing that you can still make those things transparent to the public and to us.
I gotta weigh in. I am not in agreement with pulling consent agenda items just for agreement, because, first of all, it doesn't happen that often. I mean, it's not like this ties us up or council members pull consent items, and there's all this lengthy discussion. That's actually a non-issue, very genuinely.
It's happened in 2/3 of my meetings. That's all I'll say. Just
But not a whole lot of time. But here's the thing, and I'm gonna go back to Turnbull Bay Bridge. And I'm gonna use that as an example, was on the consent agenda for the contract change. That has been a huge project for this council for the last 7 years. And when there's any change, I am gonna go on the record, and I'm gonna want staff to go on the record publicly until this project is done. And I am not gonna give up the opportunity to go on the record on issues that I personally feel are important, and I don't think any of you should give that right up either.
I don't think you were asking to do that.
No, I'm not.
Well,
That was something you would want to pull,
If you want to pull it,
because
pull
you,
it. For that comment.
But
I'm
you
not
got
saying
some
that.
comments.
but not just a comment, but I would want staff to address it
yes,
too.
yes.
fine.
That's a s-
There's no
So
problem.
then what's the issue?
The issue is, we had 2 issues pulled. One was $11,000 purchase of the material for the suicide. The other one was pulled for the explaining of the Great Gatsby's that we wouldn't have pulled. And there were items that you could comment on. You could say, yes, I think the library is doing a great job in that. Appreciate their efforts of putting it out there, and that Volusia County is a part in the library system, is a great part of doing that. And you make a comment on it and move on instead of pulling it, reading it, discussing
That's
it,
right.
call it
And
to
then when
vote.
Turnbull comes up, you want to pull that, because you
That's
want
fine. You wanna
some
pull it for
staff.
Okay, I just wanna make sure,
Just comment, not discuss.
I see what you're saying.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but I just think as council members, because sometimes there's gonna be something that, you know, the rest of us may not know. You've got an issue going on in your district, and there's something up there, and you're like, I've gotta go on the record, because I'm gonna get the heck beat out of me, you know, because Big John or the Bernier Show,
Right.
somebody's gonna say, oh, there goes the Rubber Stamp Council, get ready. Here comes the Rubber Stamp Council, they're shutting down discussion, they're not talking about anything. That will be the fallout, I'm telling you, so
Well,
just
that I don't worry
buckle
about.
up.
But
Well, we just need to do what we need to do. make
Exactly,
our
but what I'm,
decisions.
what I'm saying is but you have to reserve the right to pull an issue.
it's not- I'm not saying not pulling them.
I'm
Yeah,
good.
I-
Okay.
If I understand, we're just not, instead of pulling an item to make comments, positive comments on it that we're gonna support anyway, we would just have a certain comment time, but we go ahead and pass those,
Pass
because,
it.
and that way staff doesn't have to hang around, wait to see what
Exactly.
we're gonna talk about. Okay,
Okay,
I'm good.
is everybody okay with that?
I'm good.
If you want to pull it,
Issue, it,
It's
what you
fine.
want
We
to
can
discuss.
pull it, we can still pull it.
Ask questions, you still.
You could still
So-
pull it.
Yeah.
any
So,
of
so
them.
you, wait a second, so you just say, I want to pull item G as in George, and I just think they're doing a wonderful job, and then that's, or I just want to say item G,
That's what you say, you don't have to pull it.
yeah, you don't have to pull it, I just want to say, have a
When would we
comment
do
and
that?
move on.
Will we do
That
that
was
as we're
probably-
coming
Do that
around and you,
after the vote, after
after
the
it's all,
consent.
after we move to consent, okay.
No,
Punch in
I
and
think,
then
I
be
think, I
recognized.
think when you're asked if you have any items, you should be able to give it at that time. Just
You can do
say
it then.
item G,
Yeah.
You'll have
dealing with
discussion
that,
after
move
the vote
on.
then.
That sounds
Or
good.
you- I mean, if you want to make a comment, discuss, and say, if anything you want to do, on the item you mentioned, that was a multi-million-dollar deal. That's not a little item.
That's right.
But an item where, and we've had them in all three meetings, basically, except today. The other two meetings we've had.
I think you're gonna see more agenda items with numbers instead of letters, but okay.
No, you can pull it, yeah.
I'm not talking about me.
No, because I'm going to be there on the Wednesday before it's
You're
done,
gonna see.
and making sure. And you'll, just saying, you'll see.
I hear you, I hear you.
So,
No,
so,
I
Mr.
think-
Chair,
I think it's gonna work, Ed. I
This,
hear you.
okay, that one's okay.
I hear you.
so the way we would do this, I want to make sure that you're okay with this, is when you ask them if they're going to pull anything, they could make their comment then, or do you want to wait till they make the,
Why don't we wait till it votes and then make the comments? Because if you're going to,
Good.
no, you want to do it the other way?
Yeah, that might be a better
Okay.
mechanism. Logistical.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
now,
I'm
are you,
okay with that.
okay, so we would do it then? Okay, so you'd make your comment, and then what I can do is.
Same thing.
What I'll do is, because a couple times there were council members want me to talk about something, I'll mention the couple, after they're done.
Right.
I'll mention the couple I have, and that way you can just vote and you're all done. Okay?
Like a plan.
Okay,
Yeah.
that way, in some ways,
That's
if
good.
you feel compelled to pull it, it's probably because you really have a bigger issue, because you can still comment on it. Okay, we can do it that way.
Somebody else come up. Heather, I know you've got a list over there. I saw yours 4 pages long. Oh, one more quick one, which I was going to bring up today. This is a quick one. I do think it would be important if we could consider joining the Volusia League of Cities. All of those are going to be sponsors in the state of the county. We're going to have the city logos on the program where they are sponsoring and being a part of the county, state of the county. The ones that I've talked to, the mayors and the managers that I've talked to, all excited that is included. I just think that for the benefit that it does, that it's going to give us, because we're going to need to work very closely with all of our residents on transportation, on homelessness, which we've already been doing. I just think it helps build that rapport of working together. Just saying.
Well, and
I want that
go
logo,
along-
I want the Votrain logo on it.
I
They can be on it.
go along with that, Ed.
Thanks, Joyce.
I go along with that.
I want a space rocket on it too, I want to.
Well,
You-
I just think it's
each of-
important that we show unification. And that is something I know, coming from our backgrounds, it's really important. And I just think that's the next step for us to do, to show the cities that we are there, we're there to work with them. We want to be a part of them, and we want them to be a part of us because a well-planned-out city makes a great county, you know.
I have a problem with it.
Okay. You have a bunch of cities. You have
I know a
Pearson.
bunch of cities, but I'm still, I mean, there are times when I've gone to I consider their evening meetings nothing more than a supper club.
Maybe you
And
should go.
I've gone to them. Some of them, you know, if they've got somebody worth speaking, but I just can't see the amount of money that we're gonna have to spend to do that, unless they wanna join the Florida Association of Counties. I mean, why do we have to join the League of Cities and they're, you know,
That was
so.
my question about our county. if
It's-
I'm
I
not-
wasn't
And-
sure.
and I-
It's $2,000. It's not like what it
Well, no,
used to
it's,
be.
it's not that,
And it's a matter of,
I-
again, building relationships. A
Well,
lot of
I
those
go
meetings that
to
you
the-
have, it's maybe their real opportunity to talk with you about issues that are important, you know.
well, I've gone to
Those
the,
relationships are
to
really.
the evening, whatever they are, is the cocktail party and the dinner, and it's fine. But, and I talk to people, so why do I have to join? I mean, it doesn't make walking around sense to me. I mean, the $35, I don't mind paying that to go to the dinners over there, which I've done in the past.
Well, I think we've participated in a lot of different organizations that we've contributed to show good faith and being a part of the community. I think that's exactly what this is. It's again, it's showing the willingness that we want to be a part of them, and we want to be at the table, and it is. It's a symbolic sort of an event that we're just saying, yes, we do want to participate, we want to be there. I can't tell you how many times I've been at those meetings as a municipal person, but, you know, going now as a county, how many things I learn by talking. Again, it's building relationships, and you may hear something different that you don't hear elsewhere, and it's a little bit more of an informal situation, and I just think it would be a really good sign from the county that we are there to make a difference with the.
Well, I think those that want to join should join, but I'm not interested. I may,
But
you know, I'm
those as a
invited to
county.
I'm invited to their dinners, I'll go to their dinners, I will pay the cost of attending the dinners. I just don't think that we need to join, that's all, that's my
Okay.
point.
Okay.
That's,
I just want to
Yeah, I kind of
add
feel that way
something to.
myself. But anyway.
The honest thing is that when I came on the council, we were members of the League of Cities. Cost a lot. And I was very, very willing, if you will, to be a strong partner with cities, because I think we all should work as a unit. So I proposed that we would have a meeting of the minds and talk about transportation issues, and if they're willing to help us with vote train. Every time we met, well, that's our problem, vote train.
Exactly right.
And that's not right.
That's right.
Not, and
She's right.
and I have a problem when you tell me, because we want to be cordial and friendly, and we're the one dishing out the money, and you can't help, you say you can't even give $25 in your budget to help with transportation issues that are very, very important to the cities.
Well, and I hear where you're coming from.
And
I
that's
was at
not right.
I was at one of those meetings as an elected city official where I wasn't really warned of what the meeting was all about. I was told I needed to go over there after a TPO meeting, and I'm the only one from my city, and I was asked to vote on an issue that I couldn't have voted on. So I wasn't going to get involved in that at all, but I think, again.
That wasn't the issue, that wasn't, I mean, everybody was involved.
Yeah, well,
Everybody
that's
was
what I'm saying.
invited.
Well, I know, but I was the only one from my city that was there, so I couldn't make a decision as
That's
the
making her
one person.
point. That's making her point.
But,
That's exactly what she's saying.
That's not a reason
but,
not to be a member.
but I still think that's where the communications, we've got to heal those. And as I've gotten on the county, I am learning more and more what it takes to run. It's not just an easy, it's horrendously hard to make all these cogs fit. And I think as we become more engaged with the people, the citizens or the cities, you know, there's gonna be that communication to see, these are the reasons why, I mean, I think at the mayor's roundtable, or the elected officials roundtable, when the county came and had the last discussion, it was wonderful. It was presented, and I could see lights turning on to everybody. Finally they understood because it was explained. And I think, again, it's just communication, it's good faith, let's come together and
But we, you
try
know,
to start.
the League of Cities, I mean, I go, you know, when it's in my district or even outside of my district, I attend those that I can on my calendar. As you know, our calendars are, we're all so busy, and we have to prioritize. But I attend and write my own check and sit with my cities, or depending where I am, or on the issue, and will continue to do so. But even that slip of the tongue, I was gonna bring this up, this happened twice within the last couple of weeks. It's called the Elected Mayors Roundtable. I actually stopped 2 mayors, I won't tell you who, said this is Elected Leaders Roundtable. It's Elected Leaders Roundtable, the county council's paying for it, you're in county council airport, it's not led by the mayors. I mean, so there is a disconnect, and there absolutely is. So when I'm out in the community and the comment is, oh, well, it's the mayor's roundtable, every time I correct it and I say, no, it's elected leaders roundtable
Officials.
that the county pays for. We pay for the lunch, we have our staff do the minutes, and we host it. So I don't even want the thought out there that we're not collaborative. We are collaborative. We absolutely are. So I think we need to move on in this issue very genuinely. I'll continue to write my check and let that one go. And look forward to them coming to us collaboratively, too.
Well, and I'll just add one more little comment. I know we were all paying the large amounts. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm good.
We were all paying those large amounts, and that's why Billy and I both did away with VCOG and combined and eliminated the high cost that everyone had to pay from the cities. We saved over almost $250,000 to the taxpayers. And remember, all of these 386,000 people who live in a city also live in Volusia County.
That's right.
And they are a part of it, and they really do appreciate the relationships that we're building. And if you think that we can do it by ourselves without involving the people, because it's the people who live in those cities who pay all of this money. It's not county money. It's their money too, because they put the money up. It's not just Volusia County's money.
Well, then maybe it's double taxation if the city's paying for it and the county's paying for it, too.
That's not the point. The point is, none of this money is
And I'm having
our
a
money.
conversation, I
I
mean,
know. None of this is-
if you're
I-
gonna go
And I know
there,
we've got,
it's what it is.
I guess we've got 4 of you that don't want to participate with the cities, and you've got 3 of us. I will go when I can, and I'll go.
As we all will.
And I think it's a mistake not to show that you want to. That's fine. That's what this is for. There's no hard feelings. We're all going to discuss. I'm going to walk away from here. We're all going to be still friends, but we're just discussing these issues. So I'll move off of my.
Half of my district is in the unincorporated area, and the other half's in the city, so, you know, and I mean, I'm driving all the way up to Seville, and, you know, they're not in.
They're not in the city.
But
But
they're
they're
not in the
residents.
city, and I got a lot of people who aren't in the city, and so, you know.
I think yours is the only one that's disproportionate. I think you
No, I
have a
think
greater.
I think it's proportioned nicely.
Yeah.
I think it's the way it should be.
You have a higher number in the unincorporated than you do the cities.
Say what now?
I think you have a higher than 50% in the unincorporated.
Probably, but
We do too. I do too. But the majority of them are in the city. Just saying. Yeah. Okay.
those of us in the unincorporated area, try making them come into a city.
I know.
They don't want to see their taxes double in the going from an MSD into a city. I have more enclaves over in the DeLand area, and those people would set my house on fire if I suggested that they start paying 6.5 or 7 mils instead of
Well,
3.5.
Well, let's use Ormond by the Sea, and those people are begging to get in Ormond Beach, but I won't go into that one because their taxes would be reduced by 12%. So enough said on that one. Somebody else have something that they want to bring up? I mean, this is what this is for. You're seeing 3 newbies and 4 veterans and some of you with
No, you're
3
seeing it,
decades.
no, you're not, you're seeing a county council working together.
There you go. Here, here.
Well, that's what the purpose of this
That's
is.
what you're
This is
seeing,
the-
county council
This is the first
working
time
together.
anything like this has happened in at least 4, 5, 6 years. maybe.
Not true, happens every 2 years.
Oh, every 2 years y'all do this?
Elections, just saying. If this is county council. Elections, we,
Actually,
things
kind of
change.
happened at the end of every council meeting,
Oh,
on the
yeah.
previous council
Yeah.
meetings.
Go back and listen to the minutes.
Yeah,
We're so weather beaten. It's like, okay, this is a council.
Well, it is a council, and it's no different, but it's a chance to just say things and sit around in a different type of format, come up with some ideas. We've come up with a few that are good. I think just agreeing to look at some of the things. One other, Jim and I talked about one other agenda item was,
This is more of a question for me, okay? And this is the great dilemma that I have, and it's changed somewhat over time with the different personalities of all the council members I have, which we're all getting together here in 2 weeks is gonna be, I really think it's gonna be a really positive thing, and we've never done it before with previous council members. A lot of them have their own points of view. You know, I have a unique view. I feel like I work for all 20 of them.
No,
Because
you
a lot
work
of
for
stuff-
7 of us. You work for 7 of us.
Well, I have worked for 20,
So there you
okay?
go.
And what I'm getting at is a lot of the policies that we still have were put into place by a lot of those people. With different people, you have different personalities. The one thing that we tried to do, and they were more sticklers for this when I first got here, was there was more of a thought in those days, they slowed down government rather than, and have everything ahead of time. I mean, it was like if I didn't have every piece of paper, and I'm serious. It's not how I was taught to do government business, but that was the way they wanted it done. They didn't want anything on the agenda that wasn't a week in advance. Well, that slows things down because that's not how the real world works. So I guess what the chair and I talked about was, I need to know, the one thing that the new rule that we put in place is if people are gonna ask you for money, that for me to put it on the agenda, I wanna have it at least the Friday before, because it's a vote for money. So so what we're telling people is, like the one time, the $500 for that one event, wasn't a big deal, but we're trying to say that instead of them waiting to give it to you on Monday or Tuesday, we need them to give it to me by Friday. That way I can at least have it on the agenda electronically over the weekend and by Monday for sure. But we do get these other things. In all fairness, the one resolution that Deb had today is that each one of you, especially if you're here, sometimes things come up
Yeah.
where you believe that it's important enough and you think that maybe it won't be that controversial, and I have to take some view of what I think will be controversial or not, and make a decision on putting it on the agenda. Now, I need some guidance on how close to the meeting before I say no. And what I don't want to be labeled is stop, because if I say no, it takes, now you're talking 2.5 weeks pretty much before you see it again. 2.5 weeks can make a big difference and can in some cases make council people look ineffective and make me look like Mr. Bureaucracy. So what would be good to talk about is how comfortable are you with putting things on the agenda? Because like Ed and I talked, in all fairness, about, and I'm not picking on the thing today, but I felt like,
but that's a good one to pick on.
right, yeah, I felt like in this case, given what I knew, that it was something that you would want to address. So I put it on. That was not in deference against anybody, but I got to try and make them choices. Now I do get things sometimes where I can tell you that this is too big, too controversial. There is no way that I can put this on with that short a notice. One, for you, and two, for the public. See, that's the other thing I look at, is part of my job is, like, that one would not be that controversial to the public. You were supporting them applying for a grant. Nobody in the public's gonna come up and beat you up about that. But I have other ones that if we did like, the ones on,
But, Mr.
local
Chair,
preference.
That was more than just applying for a
Yeah.
grant.
Let's give it up.
It was more than that. I just want to be clear on that.
It had to do with money. It had to do with county giving up $200,000
No, no.
of request.
That request was the same request. See, that's where the mistake come in. I'm sorry that became a mistake. The $200,000 request is being asked for through them, which was the same request we were making, but it was for their project.
Right.
So to me, it was one and the same.
What we put in,
Yes, we did. What we would, here's the reason we did it.
so you were saying that you're
that's-
duplicating
we-
what they would have put in?
Yes, and it was not clear to you that all we were doing was duplicating. And what happened was,
That's why
we were
should have
putting in
more
the 200,000 because we were gonna do the design, but we were doing it on our own. What we were told, actually, by some of the legislators, was that it was actually for Oak Hill's project, not ours, Oak Hill's project, but we were led to believe that if Oak Hill put it in one fell swoop, because they're a disadvantaged city, they'd have a better shot at the money. Originally, we were gonna put in the 1.3, and they went ahead and put the 1.5 in. So what I didn't want to do was confuse the legislature by having the same request in twice.
And that was the request. When I went before the delegation meeting, I made that request for the 200,000 at that time, because that's where we were going. So the fact that when it came to me and said, we need to move this over, it's where it should be, because they had a better shot at getting it than us.
Right.
So when you made the request,
It was part of
it
the,
was for Oak Hill?
yeah, for Oak Hill. It was money that was for a project that we were supporting to go to Oak Hill.
For Oak Hill.
And it was for Oak Hill. And it was the three items that we had worked with Senator Latvala on. And so this gave us an opportunity to,
So
Get-
so you
get-
think
put-
he could get it faster going through a city than going
That's
through
what
the county when
That's what he told me.
Latvala said that if we did do this, this, and this, he would make sure that we did this, they would do this, this, and this for the county?
I lost you there.
I'm
I
just saying.
I heard you talking, but I didn't understand the words. I don't know why it was.
You got it?
Yeah, I just think it gave us another chance to put another project in the hopper and get that over to.
We attribute it to, but anyway, the point being, I think the chair's got a point here.
Well, I think, here's the point that I've got. I would love to have had that and been able to look at it for a day, or 2 days, or 3 days, or 4 days, or since at least Monday. I would like to have had it. I don't think it's fair to me or any of us to have something come up the day of a meeting to vote on, even if it doesn't include money. I mean, I just can't see, how much of an advance do we have to do where we advertise something for a hearing? 10 days?
For ordinance, it's 10 days.
That's what I said. I thought I knew that answer, but anyway.
And I'm okay if it's not something that needs to be posted, and we've talked about this, you know, we have our meeting on Tuesday before
Well,
the
here's what,
council meeting, and I'm okay getting additional
Well,
stuff 2 days before,
what-
but the morning of is not.
well, based on what you just said, though, I can see that here's the mistake here, and it's my fault, is that they did know. Because we do yours in advance, this was our fault. We slipped.
Oh, so you got it Tuesday?
See, they saw it too, but see, you don't get a follow-up meeting. So we're gonna have to figure out if I have anything, well, no, this is something you learn, right? Well, George described, we told you about it
I
at.
told you we were writing a resolution, and we talked I showed you the map. I'll do better next, we had the map and we went over the whole thing, we said we were writing the
Yes.
resolution, and they wrote it right up to the night before they were working on it.
Yes. But here's the issue, this is good to have this discussion, because we don't usually ever have that happen. So what happens is because he gets briefed earlier than you, because when we're putting the agenda together, he doesn't necessarily get the briefing that you do in the same week. So what I have to make sure is I have to make sure.
Just,
Yeah, I can't, but the point is, this rarely would happen. What I have to make sure is that if anything
New.
different came on the agenda, that the chair needs to know about it because he doesn't do the briefing in the week you get it. He gets it before you do. But in some cases, we're in the middle of still developing things, and we work with him on what we're developing. So, so, Mr. Chair, the fact that we brought that up is good, because this helps me, is that if it's okay with everyone, that we make sure that it happens by the Tuesday before, which is the briefings, then I'll make sure that it has to happen by that day. And Mr. Chair, I'll make sure that if there's anything you didn't know, we will make sure that you know about it when everyone else does on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Tuesday.
Well,
'Cause
some of the members,
that gives us Wednesday to look into.
well, but some of you don't get briefed till Wednesday. So, right, right. So usually, if it's really something that's, I'll call them ahead of time if it's really that much. But I'll use Tuesday as the Tuesday and Wednesday for the council members, like Mr. Lowry's Wednesday. And he's Wednesday morning, so we'll make sure that everyone gets noted. And Mr. Chair, we'll make sure that if there's any change, you'll know what it is.
Okay. And see, I didn't even get it revised. Was that even on the agenda? It wasn't even on my red line agenda. Today's discussion.
No, because I think,
No,
because we put it under the
The
comments.
Williamson got on, but this did not actually make it on the agenda.
And I'm sitting there trying to have a meeting that I
No,
don't have on
no,
the.
you got a good point.
You're
And
correct.
I can fix it, so
Yeah.
that it's,
All you have to do, if it's something at the last minute, send me an email. Put it on my red line.
no, we'll get it on there from now on.
Okay, because it wasn't on anything that I had.
It's a legitimate, it's a legitimate issue.
Just saying.
This thing, we'll work it out.
As long as we can, and,
That's why you should have these, see, we're talking. This is, we'll make that work.
because I read every page of everything that I get on my agenda. And I want to be able to comment on it, and that's why when I'm sitting with something blindsided, I can't comment intelligently. And that's why I didn't know that we already had the
Right.
$200,000 request in for Oak Hill that we shifted to them.
Yeah.
Had you told me that, or had I read that, I would have remembered it.
Well, and
I
it's,
do now remember it.
well, we're not,
Maybe.
we're not perfect on this side, and so that was a flaw.
I guarantee you I'm not perfect.
And
I
so
know that.
what we'll
Okay.
do is, that's the good thing about having this discussion. If I can have this kind of discussion, it makes it easier for me, so then, because here's the other thing. In the old days, when they didn't want me even doing that. Well, I'm telling you, we held up stuff that should never have been held up.
Well, and
So now we try to keep you updated and moving on.
especially if something that is anything that's time sensitive like that needs addressing or needs help or is gonna help
Right.
improve the movement of something. But then I still say I thought my vote was what it was because of something else. But we don't need to talk about that anymore. I could go on some more.
Maybe we should.
Well, one other thing before you go to that
You need
point.
to expound on that one.
Before you go to that point, though, the other thing that I think needs to be understood is, in all fairness to Dan, okay, because he puts together these legal documents, and he has to be as perfect as a human being can be on these documents, and because of all the people I've ever worked with, he's probably absolutely the best at making sure that he is 100% correct as he can be on these documents. I've never had council members or the administrative staff really go through and correct the county attorney's legal documents. So the point being that because all that work has to go through his office and legal documents, there are things that I discuss with you that here's what we're doing, here's how it's, but there's a legal document that goes with it. We also, I need some leeway, because in all fairness to him, to try and have all them documents done in time, when he has to make sure that what we're saying gets done.
That's true.
I don't have council people that are gonna really, you trust him to do the document right. So I'd like to have is a little more leeway.
How often does that happen? It's a legal document that's being held up.
A lot,
I
a
mean,
lot of times.
I-
A lot of times. In other words, a lot of times right up till the moment, okay,
But
the
has
day or
that ever
so.
been questioned? That was not.
No, what I'm
questioned.
saying is,
It has come back on the
no,
calendar 2 years.
let me finish. What I'm saying is that I just want to continue this practice. What I have started to do is to move the agenda ahead with the idea that his documents, legal documents, will follow. And so he tries to make those documents at least a day or two before. But in some cases, Some of that stuff is in he's going through that. But you don't want to hold your agenda up, because he would never let it on if the document didn't support what you're passing. So my point is that one of the documents that gets held up sometimes is some of the legal requirements, because they're still dealing sometimes with the client, that people are making word changes, but they're really putting forward what you want done. And so those documents, people keep crafting those to the last couple of days sometimes. So what I'm telling you, so that you understand, I am not holding up the agenda for those. I am saying that those documents will, to give his office a reasonable time, I'm saying they'll follow. And here, now the bottom line is, if that document's not ready and not correct, Dan's not gonna let us have it past that
See,
deadline.
and that's the difference. We worked just the opposite. I know you don't want to hear how we did it, but if we didn't have the legal there before, it didn't go. It didn't come before the council. If he hadn't signed off on it, because every document that comes through here, a department director will sign off on it.
Hope Place would be probably the one example I could think of recently, and your policy direction was, the policy contours of that were pretty well set, but we were being asked to present documents. We were working on documents until really the day before with their counsel. So it's really not going to be a big issue from. We'll never put something in front of you that we don't think is legally sufficient.
No, what about Sunrail? You had that done well in advance. That was done.
Well, Sunrail?
Oh, okay.
No, that's a good example. Sunrail, what, the final
not?
document you had was, what, yesterday?
Well, no, and you mean the original, I think the chair's referring to the original
Oh, the
con.
original
The
document.
original
Oh,
document.
not the original.
yeah,
He means the one today.
The one
we
today?
voted on
Oh, yeah,
today.
we saw that before.
Yeah, but the one today, he was still finalizing yesterday.
Well,
It
no,
wasn't
that,
finalized.
the,
Pretty much the same as
what
that
you,
on Tuesday.
Mr. Chair, what the agenda item today, I sent to you by email on Monday afternoon, and was public, it was on the
Yeah, I
agenda.
printed it out.
So,
Yeah, I saw it too. So that's-
So we both saw that.
but again, actually, we're doing today was establishing a policy position
Right.
to be able to go
Okay.
go
Well,
forward.
let's move
So,
off of this one. You're not gonna bring us something that you haven't signed off on, that you hadn't vetted and covered from
I
A to
think
Z.
what he,
I have all the
I
confidence in
think
the
the only,
world, Dan. I'm
only
not-
point the manager's making is if he wouldn't, what he's asking for is if there is a Hope Place again, if there's that type of situation again, that he be able to place the matter on the agenda, and you receive the documents a reasonable period of time before.
I'm fine.
Okay.
I trust you explicitly,
Right.
implicitly,
Because we would never give you something, I would pull it if the legal document wasn't correct.
That's not a concern of mine.
But I want to make sure that we stay on time with the issue.
And obviously, the public needs an opportunity to, if you're going to take final action, the public needs an opportunity to comment. But in Hope Place, you were trying to schedule people's calendars, and we were interacting. That's the royal we, because really Jamie really did heavy lifting on that.
And I'll just share one more thing with all of you, because I guess we don't vote on this. I could show you later. But what Marcy and staff have done in working up the program for me to look at the agendas and everything using Goodreader, which makes it so simple, where you hit Goodreader, you go to the agenda, you go to bookmarks, you pull the item up, you don't have to do everything. It's the most simple program to work. I got them almost, it's still just one more little step, but other than that one little step, where you can go to it and I can hit, for example, go to Goodreader, pull up the agenda for today, and there it is, and I want to go to item 8. So I hit item 8, and there's it.
8A.
8A. It should have been 9, but it wasn't. Anyway, but you can go to it. It's all right there, so you've got all the background. It makes it just easy. And you can make notations. And now with your new ones, you'll be able to write little notes on the side of it.
You
But-
still need another app,
Yep.
actually.
Huh?
Need another app.
No.
Got that one.
Uh-uh.
It's there.
It's right here in this program.
There. I just have to learn how to.
I can do it on this
I can
one.
do a red line.
But I can do-
Like highlighters.
I'll get user-friendly. I need to get more user-friendly on that.
But you can write on it, I don't have the pencil, it will only write with a pencil, mine and I can write my emails and stuff, message. But anyway, that's just one thing, I appreciate all the staff working with that part on the new technology aspect of it, so I don't have to be like Heather, Ms. Post, member, and carry the big book, so I appreciate that part of it.
At some point, I'll look at it.
That's fine.
I like
I'm-
actual physical print.
I've got it
Hey,
physically
hey,
right
hey,
here,
hey.
and I can turn my pages faster.
You.
I'm slow, I have to.
Then you don't have to get your shoulders around.
Okay. Heather,
Exercise.
share something, Heather.
Share something. Okay, so I have a question, because I had thought that this open discussion area was mostly meant for us really laying it out there and.
Anything you want to do is what it's
No,
for.
not anything I want to do, I'm asking and suggesting, hold on. Because I don't want to say anything I don't say. So, my thought of this was that we would be laying out the certain issues, so Votrans and homelessness and, all the different infrastructure, the different issues. Because this was to help remedy the fact that we can't actually talk to each other. Thanks. That we can't actually talk to each other and, know what we're thinking and
The
where
Florida Sunshine Law.
where we stand, right.
Right.
And so that was to me, that was what I thought that was the whole point of this. So, I would love to give my opinion on Votrans and a couple other things, just so everybody knows where I stand. But if this is not that format, then,
Well, I've got on mine is that one of the things I would like to do at a future time is to dig down into Votrans,
yeah.
which is a part or a component of transportation. Whether or not that's the time, or whether we want to schedule a time during the course of the upcoming meetings, which could be then part of one of our goals and objectives is to, dig down into Votrans and make it such that wherever we feel that there's a need, that we address the opportunity for having Votrans serve. And that would be a digging down into it. I don't think we can go digging into Votrans today, but
Well, no,
your feeling on Votrans, I'm not controlling this. I mean,
Yeah.
your feeling on Votrans, share it.
I think I can answer you.
Okay.
Because we've talked about it, yeah.
Where I was gonna suggest.
Your mic, Jim, your mic.
Jim, your mic.
I was gonna suggest, for example, like on Votrans, I know you need a workshop on this. This is a big deal. So I was gonna suggest, a date, okay? And I had like Votrans, beach vendors, I had a couple like that. I was gonna say, I believe you need to have a workshop on these.
Yeah.
Okay? So I've got a couple, and I thought we would set the date too, when you wanted to do it.
I thought we have a date, March 2nd.
Well, no, I needed you to verify that, because this was just this was a draft by us.
No, I thought we were good on that. No, we're totally good on the Votrans workshop. Didn't we schedule that?
Okay, so
I thought we
are we
scheduled that.
okay on
Yeah, I
that?
thought we were
Just so
doing
I'm
that.
clear, I missed that point.
Yeah, we were,
Okay, so the 2nd of March for Votrans,
Yeah.
everyone was okay.
yeah.
The beach vendors we had for the next meeting in February,
Mhm.
okay? Economic development, after what we heard today, I thought we might want to have a meeting on economic development. I figured that for March 16th.
I would wait till session's over.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because that's gonna change.
No, you're right, now that we
There's no
heard what
sense
we
in
heard.
worrying
Wait till
about that.
session's over.
Fee revenue schedule for us is, on the administrative side, is we're gonna talk to you about all of the fees we do, where we think we ought to change in a philosophy of how do you keep up with inflation on the fees. So we had suggested maybe in April for that. And then those are the big ones. I have ones that I have to do, which is our budget and the 5-year forecast. We have a
Okay.
couple other things on there. So whatever I thought you'd throw
Right.
things out, and we try to
Yeah.
massage where you want them on the calendar.
But so, not as a workshop. So let me take 2 minutes and give you my opinion on Votrans, because it's not a workshop, it's not,
Just
anything.
talk. We
And
hear
I've
you.
talked
We hear
with
you.
staff about it, so I want to talk with council about it, so council knows where I'm coming from. So, you know, my district is Tanger, and for some reason, Tanger Outlets, there's been this huge blow up of Tanger Outlets needs a bus stop, Tanger, you know, and I have yet to come up with a citizen that has made a complaint or request, or a company, or anyone that has made a request to get a bus stop out at Tanger.
Has the city requested?
No, and
Okay.
I've
I'm just going on the record.
yeah, and I've talked, but that's the thing, so I've talked with the city officials, I've talked with,
You've talked with
thank you,
Daytona?
Deb, by the way.
Daytona
You're
Holly
welcome.
Hill?
I've talked with, yep, and I'm having regular meetings with, you know, all of the cities in my district. And in having all of those meetings, I've been having meetings with, the disabled, the blind services, all of
Transportation
them, none of them have said, we have to have a bus stop at Tanger. We've had, I've sat down with Votran, with Steve, I don't think he's in, okay. I sat down with the general manager of Votran and asked for a list of any complaints in regards to not having service at Tanger. And it's my understanding that there have been none, and there have been no requests. So I don't know where this big thing of, you know, that everyone's demanding a bus stop at Tanger is coming from, but I'm not finding it. So on the other side of the coin, the other part of that has been that, you know, well, okay, so then maybe it's not that the county dropped the ball because we should have added it into development. Well, in my thinking, that's over with, right? We're
Yeah.
not, we're not gonna go back and request from anyone to help with something. So I think it's very important for us to consider from here on out in economic development, transportation and infrastructure when we're building these new things. From here on out, I think that is a standard that we need to have and we need to maintain. So yes, that's here, but on the Tanger side, you know, when I sat down with Votran and I had them, you know, I said, well, where are you? Tell me where you are actually having these requests and these, you know, concerns. And Walmart was a big one in New Smyrna. And then DSC in DeLand was another thing. And to me, not even looking at requests for service, but to me, a Walmart and a college, to me, those are no-brainers. When you're looking at transportation and infrastructure, those are no-brainers to make sure transportation goes to those. And I understand, absolutely understand why we don't have the bus service going to those places right now, because they're not on current routes, yada, yada. But to me, if we're reevaluating and looking at bus service at all, and we're looking at this, you know, oh, suddenly we need a bus stop in a new area, let's look at, you know, let's reevaluate the current system and see where we're truly, truly lacking. And those two areas is what I've seen, I'm coming up with in all of my research, in talking to all of these different groups, is the Walmart in New Smyrna and the college in DeLand. So,
Don't forget District 5.
yes.
No, we got a lot.
Well, and other places, I'm sure, but, so, and to me, it's very holistic. We're supposed to be looking at the county as a whole, and, you know, I love.
That's important to say because, you know, you're not the only person to represent Tanger.
Right,
We're
right,
sitting around this table.
right, yes.
You know,
And
Well,
some of us have had requests, some of us had to have people ask us, there are people, and that's
Who are
why,
those people, though? Are they just
And that's-
hearing that, because
Yeah.
I've also heard that Tanger desperately needs bus service, but I have yet to find a person actually in
Okay.
need
And that-
or
Yeah.
requesting.
and that's
it.
why,
And how many people?
that's why I suggested that you
Yeah.
have a survey of at least to start with the people that work
Right.
there.
Right,
You start there, and if there's nobody, if you go out there, and I know everybody says it opens up a can of worms. I did a survey where I wanted reclaimed water in 1984 in the city of Ormond Beach.
mhm,
That area still doesn't have reclaimed water, but they did a survey. They did a survey before they did the upscale outlet mall in Orlando, 15 years before they ever put the outlet malls there. And for us to say that we can't do a survey to ask.
Yeah, it was
It's
the
not
other way
saying you're
around.
gonna get service.
Yeah.
Do a survey of the employees, let them find out.
No.
Maybe there's no demand for it, but that's certainly a
But
way.
you're
But
looking at
I-
900 some odd jobs,
Yeah.
and then if you look at those jobs, out of those people who do not have cars or who need rides, who actually use bus service or would use bus service, I think the other areas in our current system, so not, you know, we need to reevaluate the current system that
We
we
need to look at
have,
all, at a whole, we need to look at
and
it.
then look at adding later. But if our current system is not working, and then I've had the question from people, well, you know, how come we haven't looked at the current system? How come when these things are being built, we're not, you know, incorporating in these thoughts? Well, and it's my understanding that it's because at a certain point, the council said, we're not putting any more money into Votran, back when we had no money for anything, correct? During the recession, right?
What they did, here's,
So-
you need to understand this. What they did is they said, there was a time when we had a slowdown growth everywhere. And one of them was Votran, because it became a source of unlimited support. Couple things happened you have to know. So there was a halt, because we were trying to survive. If anything, the part of the county that got shorted was the west side. Because some of the things that we were gonna do, like half our service and that, never got done because we didn't have the money. So when we started to come out of the recession, the first thing I recommended, and you approved, okay, I recommended it under the previous council, I shouldn't say you approved, the previous council approved that budget. It's the one you're living with.
Right.
It was the first time we ever put extra money in Votran.
And how much are we putting
$2
into-
million.
Right, 2
So
million.
we went from 7.5
Yep.
to almost 10 million, and that was the existing system, and it was things that were stopped and
Right.
delayed. That was to upgrade, and part of it was on the west side, was to take the core area and give them half our service instead of our service.
Right.
There is a current list of about 10 different requests that we have
Right.
of people that wanted service. Now, this gets down to real easy stuff. It's all about money.
Right.
And what happens is you decide how much more you're gonna keep putting into Votran.
But it's important to understand why we weren't making those decisions. It's because a decision was made initially, and that's what we said, here's what we're gonna do. But I'll tell you, I was quoted, and I don't know if you guys heard it this way, because I pulled up the audio, and that's not what I said. But I was quoted as saying, you know, I'm telling staff, Tanger needs a bus stop, and telling me no is absolutely not an option.
I didn't get that
That is
impression.
in no way what I've said to staff or to
No,
public or to
no.
anyone. I did not say Tanger. What I said was, to me, infrastructure, transportation is very important, and to me, that's a no-brainer. We have to figure out a way to provide that to the public.
Right.
And staff telling me that's not an option is not feasible. We need to figure out ways and
Right.
figure out what we're doing. It wasn't specific to Tanger. So I wanted to make sure that all of you knew
Yeah.
that that is not where I'm
I
coming
saw
from.
it.
The other
And I
thing,
do think it's important that, as we know, things are moving west. There's a
Right.
lot of new developments, geo, whatever, and then over there on the other side of 95 from Tanger. You know, those need to be addressed then. How are we gonna get, that development is going to be 55 and older,
But-
from what I understand. A lot of them are
But-
gonna grow, and they're gonna need transportation. That needs to be thought out at the beginning, you know, where's the transportation money coming from?
but this is
We've
the
gotta
whole,
start
this is the whole
strategic
discussion.
planning.
Yes.
Here's the
Strategic
discussion. First
That's
of
it.
all, the policy that you have in effect now, I follow policy. So what I asked was, could we put money into Votran's existing system, which you agreed to, the previous council agreed to? And unless you want to change that, that's the process we're into. The policy that has not changed was when, and Joyce will remember this, when we had the meeting, because she asked for the meeting with the cities, it was about expansion of service. And and so what we said was, because there was thought, do we want to expand service? And without their help, what we said was, we were not going to expand service. It was never about Tanger. It's
Right.
because it's expansion.
Right, right.
And I
But
had
at
no,
some point, we're going to have to.
you need to address this.
We,
You
strategic
need to
planning, we
address
have
it.
to look
Right.
at
But
expansion,
the,
like Walmart
but
and
the
like
issue never gets away from
the college.
more money.
What, did you track the additional ridership
Yeah.
with the additional money that was put in?
We're just doing it right now.
Okay.
We are just putting it
I
in the
think that,
system
I
now.
think that will be part of the proof in the pudding, that you put $2 million in and you generated 200 extra trips. I don't know.
No,
whether that-
that's, we should be
should
looking
know
at
that.
that. Yes, we'll be looking at that.
Okay.
I think the original, the whole Tanger issue seemed to have been blown out of proportion by a very, very small group of individuals who are obsessed with that issue. I'm not looking at you, Joyce, no, ma'am, I was looking at, no, are you kidding?
But that's all right.
No, I'm talking about outside of the chambers here.
I
that,
understand that.
I think some of them have a huge ink bill every month. And, you know, the electronic media,
That's the clue, the ink bill.
pardon me?
I just thought it was important as the representative of District 4 with
Yeah.
Joyce and with.
I think it was
My opinion
interesting
was
that
noted.
when we were doing Hope Place, that was kind of buried in the newspapers, but the bus was,
It's back.
you know, it
Or
was,
the land, the land.
And now
the
we're doing
land
the
too.
The land didn't even get a headline.
Yeah, so it
What was
was,
the headline, Tanger or something?
Tangle with Tanger. It was, the land did one of the best things on homelessness.
Here, here.
Stepping up that nobody, that proved that it can work.
Two-thirds of addressing the homeless being addressed and a platform or a guideline to be moving forward in the rest of it, and it gets nothing.
Right. Another thing that came out that
That's
I think
okay.
wasn't misunderstood was Joyce and I talked about this, and what Joyce and I talked about was something, when you talked about drop the ball, it's something I don't think we looked at, that we should look at in Votran, and that was in Tanger. The issue's not the shoppers there, it was the workers.
Right.
And so what Joyce and I talked about was, when we have this discussion about Votran, there's a different level of service you could do if it's just for the workers.
Right.
Well,
Right.
we had not looked at that before. So what she's saying is, you know, because we didn't really have a policy for that, we ought to look at that, because if there is a need, it probably was for the workers, not for the shoppers in that mall. So when we have this discussion on Votran, this is gonna, you'll enjoy it. It'll be a big discussion. We'll have to set, you have
Did
to
you
tell me
say
how
we're
much
gonna
money.
enjoy this?
I was,
Yes, you will, okay? I won't enjoy the number,
but
but
that's the
you'll
whole
enjoy
point, to
talking about it.
reevaluate, you know, let's regroup.
Everybody behind you, Mr. Manager, is going, what?
You'll enjoy it. It's making
Turn around,
policy.
turn around, look at your
You know,
staff.
and that's
Turn,
the whole
turn
thing.
around.
How many people really even use it, are the workers at Tanger? We don't know.
But it wasn't just that, Joyce, and
Yes.
I know Joyce is gonna jump right in on that, but it wasn't even that, Joyce, it was
Yeah.
just looking at our, sequential of what's more important in our current system, and to me, that's what I'm looking at. So you know, if we're looking at 900 total workers, or 1,400 total workers, if you look at Trader Joe's,
Well, add the others.
that pales in comparison to the other needs that we have for transportation.
Right.
Statistically, it
And
pales.
that's
yes.
what I'm looking at.
The numbers don't,
Well, you know, in Deltona, they've been, just transportation for the medical services was not available. So it's transportation as a whole. That was one reason why we wanted the cities to buy in to try to help us with the transportation.
well, and can it,
They would. And New Smyrna.
Yeah, yeah.
And they've got
When
the
they have
health
to take
issues
a
too.
bus to a certain point, and then you, if you want to go any further, you got needed taxi. I mean, this is, transportation,
That's why we gotta
ladies
join the
and
League of
gentlemen,
Cities.
has never paid for itself.
Never.
Well, there,
No.
we need a point system on that, like we do the vouchers. Where does it needed the most? you
well,
know?
but you know, to expand on this whole Votran thing, before we look at expanding, in 2010, when the economy was so bad, and the council then had to make some tough decisions across the board, and the county was cutting
Right.
everywhere, and Votran was part of it,
Right.
and it was understandable.
Right.
Survival.
They made the tough decisions that they had to make back in the day in 2010. Well, the economy's better, things have changed, populations have shifted, the economies have shifted, the health agencies have shifted. So when you look at it, and just using New Smyrna Beach, they cut 2 fixed routes and they made them 2 flex routes. Well, one, I can argue, and the numbers will support, before we expand service, I think we have a responsibility to go back and look
Yeah.
at what was cut.
And that's why it's important for us to have this
bef-
conversation, to know where we all
exactly.
stand.
And,
that's-
and here's the
I think
thing
we're
on
all in
that
agreement on
area,
that.
and what Joyce was alluding to, and this is an actual conversation I had for a constituent who needed, from Beachside, New Smyrna, there's a new Florida Health Center, Florida Hospital Health Center at 95 and 44. They needed transport, she's in a wheelchair, for physical therapy at Florida Hospital. So when she called for bus service, it's outside the flex service, which it is, so she can't take it, okay, fair. Somebody said, well, call Votran Gold, which is an excellent service. I used it for my parents when they were with me. It was wonderful. It is wonderful. It's a great service. So I called Votran Gold.
24-hour notice.
I was on hold for 12 minutes. And when the response that I got back was, no, Mrs. Denny's, it's, well, they didn't know it was me. No, it's outside the flex route, but we have a solution for you. I said, great, wonderful, I'm gonna help the constituent. What's your solution? No, take the bus as far as you can
Oh, my
and
goodness.
then call a cab. That's not acceptable on any plane. That, so you don't think I've got this on my radar? You don't think I'm gonna dig down now a little bit further? We're gonna take a look at numbers? I've got my files, I've got my reports, I've got the statistics, and I will be ready for the workshop. That being said, so it's not just, no, it's a fact, it is. So, but you can thank Joy Alexander for that, because she bequeathed me files and memos and reports and maps. But,
Somebody's phone.
and there's, yeah, it's not short.
Which one are you?
I've learned that they're all blowing up. They're all blowing up. But this is worthy of a conversation, an in-depth workshop.
Dig down on Votran.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
We
these
all feel that.
conversations, because of the new hospitals that are in different parts of the county, that didn't exist then when we looked at it.
Well, I've
And-
even had requests from citizens in Bayberry, which I was not expecting a lot of requests for bus service in Bayberry, but when I was campaigning going door to door, I had at least 5 separate residences, and Bayberry's not a large subdivision out off of LPGA, and I had 5 residences asking me, when are we getting bus service out here? So we're all aware, I think there's a need
We have to
in
do
bu-
something.
in-
We
for
have to look-
transportation for the growth.
we have to
We need to
look
look
at
at it.
But it's a funding issue, and this is the last
5
thing I'll say on Votran. What I found out, this thing is so complicated, and I didn't realize that when you open up a system, when you open this up, we've got the ADA corridor that jumps in for 3/4 of a mile on each side. So, and then it goes on, and it goes on, and it goes on. But, I was having a conversation, Joyce, with some of our constituents from the historic west side in New Smyrna Beach. And I had several different generations, we're having coffee, not relating to this, something completely different. And the one lady said to me, she said, when are you gonna fix our bus service? And I said, well, what do you need? I said, we've got flex service, you could call. She said, who knows, because with flex service, you have to call 2 hours in advance to get a bus. She said, what you've kind of done is isolated a whole community over here, because by the time I need a bus, I don't know, and I need transport, I don't know that I haven't called 2 hours in advance to set it up. I'm telling you, I sat there at that meeting, and that was totally separate from everything. It just happened to coincide with where we are right now, and I sat there and I thought, we gotta do better, we're gonna do better. This council, we will do better, and all these conversations we're having is, and even if it, there's a saying that what, metal sharpens metal? Metal sharpens metal, so we all do that. So some of this coarse dialogue, if it gets uncomfortable, and it might, I want you to know I'm good with that. I have no problem with that. This is not a rubber stamp council. I think we've got 7 strong leaders here willing to come up front and address some really strong issues and move in a different direction and agenda and put some letters where we had numbers before, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
So, no, and I mean that very genuinely. And the staff is ready, and the staff, I want you to know I have full confidence, and I have strong conversations behind the scenes with staff, and you're all troopers. I mean, and thank you, Charles, yesterday. You want a good cop, bad cop? You want this guy with you.
Well, and since you mentioned that, I just want all of y'all to understand, and I was told while I was campaigning, that y'all would, the staff, that council members were having trouble getting items put on agendas.
I don't have any problem.
Okay, so that's not an issue with any of you, Joyce?
Yep.
No. Okay. I
Yeah.
was told that, so
Who
I'm just
told you
saying.
that? An elected or just
Well,
John
elected.
Cusack? Oh, I'm
Well,
not,
if they had told you that,
that's enough.
then they should have.
It may be that council member didn't want to put it on the agenda.
Now, what is possible is you could say you want something on the agenda and you can't get 4 votes to put it on the agenda. That's because the council is not prepared to hear
Okay.
it right now.
So-
That's the only way it doesn't happen.
Okay, in the process,
Yeah.
while we're talking about, this is kind of, in the process of kind of the meeting, and I know that Pat Patterson is a parliamentarian, and I really felt like I was like being under the eyeball of a parliamentarian, and I was gonna be judged on my Robert's Rules of Order. And I've been-
We all are.
We're keeping score.
But Robert's Rules
Do
hasn't
do
kept
you
up
want
with
my
it.
suggestions now?
No, look, you can do those later, and we can do those in private. But Robert didn't keep up with the digital age, so I have to say that, so he's
There's an
probably,
entire chapter in there on electronic.
they got it out of the 1800s, huh?
No, it is in the current edition of Robert's Rules of
And
Order.
that's why the rules that I had followed on, when the question's called, was not that you vote on the question, the rule that we had followed or adopted in my previous 16 and a half years was, you call the question, and you go straight to the vote. And it was never that the members had a chance to vote on whether the question was called or not. So that's,
The call for the question is one in which you have to vote because it takes a 2/3 majority to call the question. And yet
one person can't do it.
One person cannot do it.
Others have been under the
It has to
impression
be
that.
seconded, and it
We're
requires a
representative
2/3 vote.
democracy here.
It protects the rights of the minority.
Yeah.
That's the whole basis
Okay.
of Robert's
closure.
Rules.
And I always felt like it was not fair that someone would call the question and everyone hadn't had a chance to comment.
That's
And so-
exactly why. That's
And,
exactly why.
and
yeah.
the next thing I know, we're voting on an issue that, wait a minute. This
If-
person just called the question after 2 people talked, and
If you get recognized by the chair, you can call the question. It should be, but normally you should let everybody have the opportunity to have spoke on the issue.
and that's what I've tried to do, so if I'm looking at those little things, those little names pop up, and yours pops up, and then it pops off, and
I
so-
think you have the 1850 edition of Robert's Rules.
It's in the back seat of my car. I read it on the way over. I actually I listened to it by my phone. But that's one. The other thing is, and this is something that I'm okay, however y'all want to do this part of it. When a person is talking, for example, and getting this dialogue with a question that they're asking. But let's say like today, Joyce had asked, and then Deb had asked, and then Joyce and Deb start talking to each other. If that's the way you want it to be, I'm okay. But I think a parliamentarian would say that it probably shouldn't happen that way, but I'm okay whichever way you want it to have.
Pat's okay with it.
Huh?
Pat's okay with it.
If you want it to where you can have dialogue.
Pat's okay with it.
No,
Just say yes.
my cheat sheet. No, I mean, if a person, if a person is talking and asks a question that's germane to the discussion, and they're talking, and then they go and ask that same person they're talking with a question that's not germane, and then they ask the third one that's not germane, how long do we allow that to continue? Or then a member who doesn't have their little button pushed wants to continue to the comment of the other person. Do you want to allow that? Or do you want to have the dialogue not be between members?
It is up to the chair to maintain.
I yield to the majority.
I think
Well, I
it's good
think-
for us to have dialogue, and
The
and
dialogues-
it's up to you to cut it short.
And the dialogue is good, but I think they do need to push the button and get your attention.
And I will, I'm getting better on that. I don't mind,
But sometimes they'll have their discussion and by the time it, yeah.
Just say, I am the chair, right? Just,
Probably different councils would have trouble with that, but looking at the personalities here, I don't sense that's an issue, and I guess if we did get too many speaking at one time, the chair then could bring that into order, if I'm understanding the conversation
That's-
correctly.
that's-
You know, there's sometimes we banter back and forth a little bit, I don't see a problem with
Okay.
that. I'm good with that, but then,
Pat, take.
You're
you're the
okay, Pat?
chair, so if it gets too much and everybody kinda gets going at one time.
Pat, don't downgrade me on that one. I don't wanna fail this class. All right.
And you're doing a great job, don't be so hard on yourself.
And bottom line is Joyce has first say. I've already learning, so.
Here's a question. Do you have a process within the county for naming rights of things? But this,
No, we have suggested this on the administrative side, and the council has decided not to have a policy.
not just that. Okay, having said that,
With bridges, you must have been dead. We did one in Turnbull Bay Bridge. He had to pass. We named him.
You do not have a policy, because I suggested one that had things in it like that, and the council said they didn't want that kind of policy, and so you do it on an ad hoc basis.
would you have a policy of naming a reef after the #1 lionfish catcher in the tournament?
If you put it out there and the council decides, that's the,
Are any
there
of
is
y'all-
no rule. The
Are
rule
any
is
of
there's
y'all
no
familiar
rules.
with the lionfish?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
That-
yeah.
that- Okay, you're familiar with it.
Oh, yeah.
The #1 catcher during that tournament they had is from our area.
Right.
But the reef got named by a guy off the coast of Fort Walton because they gave the naming rights to a reef up there, but it had to be caught in and off of that area. So this guy caught almost 4,000 lionfish.
I saw
It's a
that.
good thing.
Huh?
It's a good thing.
So
That is a very good thing.
I just thought we have enough reefs out there, if we could bring some.
If you want to suggest that, Mr. Chair,
Mhm.
the council has left this policy open to themselves, and so you can decide if you suggest that and they want to agree with you, it's done.
Okay, I didn't know whether we had a policy, and I wanted to make sure before I even suggested it, because, okay. That one, procedure. One other question, and I know where this one's probably gonna go, but I'll ask it anyway. I've been asked by some business people that have volunteered to, and of course, they don't know that there's only one or two that have volunteered. They would like to do an economic impact study on a white paper, a time certain, 6 to 8 months. Each of us appoint somebody in a diverse group to do a study of the economic impact of the beach, and present it to us in a time frame of 6 to 8 months. Each of us would appoint one. I could appoint two. We could then vote to agree on one, have 9 people. They come back and try to give a white paper. Happens to be 2 people that are out of work for a year.
What's the purpose?
Why? I mean, isn't it, it's common sense, the beach is
What's the purpose?
an economic drive.
It was presented to me as is to show the total economic impact from a perspective of what our beach does and what it generates. And I know you may say we all know that.
Who's the request coming from? You can't ask you can't ask us to appoint people to something that we know nothing about, and who's in charge.
Oh. Each of you did, won't cost us anything.
No, but who's in charge? Who's the organization?
Well, it's an individual. and
Which
he
is,
Tony Ripley.
but,
He's retired,
no, I know
Temporary-
Tony, that's
okay.
that's not the issue.
What's the point of the?
Yeah, it gives it credibility. Tony's a good guy, that's not what I'm questioning. What's the end run? What's the purpose for it?
to provide information on the total economic impact of the area of Daytona Beach. And it would be people,
Oh, so it's
Ava-
Daytona Beach.
Daytona Beach.
So you
and
want somebody from Southeast Volusia appointed to,
It could be, you could be appointed from anywhere. Paul Zimmerman wants to serve on it, to give you the diverse group. I was asked at one time for people to say, bring back the Beach Advisory Board. I said, there's not a chance. Okay, so, and this wasn't even tied to this, but
I think, Mr. Chair, what the council would have some concern on, they'd like to know, are they planning on coming back making recommendations on things like closing ramps, reducing our fee? If that's the nature of it, I
What's the
think
bottom
that,
line?
now, if they're coming
if
back
I
just,
knew what they were coming back with, there'd be no sense to have a white paper.
well, but
But what's the focus?
they-
We need a
the
scope of
focus,
work.
if the focus is to say what value we get from all this, I think that's a lot different than
I
to
served, I
say.
served on a committee on fiscal policy and productivity without any idea of what was gonna be derived at it.
Was it
And
productive?
what we came back with, we came back with some ideas and thoughts and suggestions that the city could implement to save money. I don't know what their goal, I don't know, it's kinda like, if you have a survey and you already know what you're gonna gear the questions to do that, that's not of any value.
Doesn't the tourism board or any of the other many departments in the county have that kind of information or no?
I think they want to show, and it could come out to be positive, it's nothing you have to accept. And each of us gets to put somebody on there.
My question is where does the county, are you looking at the county supplying all the information? We're the ones, I think, that have
They're
all
gonna
the
have to
data.
go gather the information.
From where?
If I knew that, I'd go, I don't know that they even know where they're gonna get it.
I'm just
Can I,
confused as the purpose.
I wanna have a study done on the St. Johns River,
You wanna have what?
one done on the St. Johns River.
Yeah,
'cause,
we
you
need
know,
that
we-
on the
we
west
need-
side.
Yeah. You know,
I'm just, hey,
I'm just kidding, but
We're
what
being
I'm
a little
saying
sar-
is.
We're being a little sarcastic here.
Yeah,
that's all.
this is not an east
Let him
side,
get
west
through this.
side.
He'll settle down, he's gotta say this and then he'll come
Okay,
up with
here
his
we go. Go ahead, Pat. Put it out there.
No, I was being sarcastic, that's what, was it because
It takes one to know
we
one.
have our own issues out here on the St. Johns River, and I don't want to go back to those days when the boat speed limits and all that stuff, and the manatees and that kind of stuff, and so that's why I just said that.
That's
And
why I sold my
see-
house in Astor.
Huh? Well,
I
I
started doing that.
I don't know,
I was on Paradise Lane.
I mean, people can go do their study if they want to. I really don't see the purpose of it. I mean, it's like saying we're going to have a study to see if the speedway is beneficial to the economy. I mean, it's kind of there. We know that. I'm not sure what the goal is. I mean, it doesn't, and I don't know why they would need our permission unless they're needing us for information.
No,
Which
what they
then
would-
that's going to put more work on our staff, and I'm not a real fan of that.
If I appoint somebody as an elected to an advisory council, now I'm tied to that board, and I'm tied to that report, and there will be some assumptions made because a county council has made appointments. Ed,
Okay.
I'm not,
Okay,
I'm
that's
not
fine.
saying no, I'm not saying no. What I'd like to do, will you bring back some more information on what the purpose is and what the scope is? I think this is one of those things that we need more information on.
I don't think it was a gotcha type question
No,
or a
it's not
gotcha
what
type
it
thing.
is.
I'm just saying,
taking-
I
And
don't,
and he's
Yeah, I'm not saying that.
a
he's
smart
got
man,
one
so
year
it
that,
can't be,
he's got
you know.
one year that
Yeah.
he's not gonna do anything. He
Mhm.
said, I wanna devote my time. He was former
I'm sure he
county,
has good intentions.
he was
but
county
just to
chairman in
know
Leon
what-
County.
Yeah, absolutely.
so,
But just to know why. Or what?
and I guess if he did it, I mean, we can say you can do it without our blessing, but what he wanted the county to be able to appoint diverse people into it, so it wouldn't be like he's gearing it toward stacking the deck. That would be my thought, because he said he wants a diverse group of people on there. He didn't want just, he could go and appoint all hotel owners or whatever he wanted to do, and we would say, that's crazy. You're only looking out for your
I
own
th-
interest.
I think,
But he-
I think the issue is if you're talking about, he's a very smart guy, he's a friend of mine. If you're talking about them doing an economic impact study,
Right.
I mean, we've done that, I did that with the convention center with our economists. I mean, I don't think anybody would have concern, but I think if the goal is to make recommendations to the county to change the way we run the beach, that's a different study. Okay, and so I think that's what they're asking. If
Now,
the
he
goal
didn't
is
say-
to,
He didn't say that.
if
but-
that's the goal, then I'm not saying necessarily, I'm not taking a position pro or con, but I think you need to know what you're
What
asking,
the goal is.
what the goal is.
There's a study out there that's already,
Let me do this.
Hmm?
We'll
Bring
move
back
this
some
along.
information.
I'll talk to Tony
Mhm.
and see exactly what he thinks that he wants to do and where he wants it to
Okay,
go.
I could ask him too.
And
You
you
know
can
what I'd
ask
like to
him.
do? I'd like
Yeah.
to meet with him too. I know Tony well enough.
Yeah.
I think,
Do
I
that.
think council members, what we should do, because I don't wanna say no, I mean, he's a visionary leader. Tony Grippa is a
That's what
visionary
I'm saying,
leader.
there's gotta be a
You know
good
Tony.
reason behind it, yeah.
You know Tony.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's very
Uh,
smart.
Here's what I
yeah.
would
I
suggest.
will contact him
There's
first
definitely
thing.
good
You
reason.
contact him and to
And
see
then
if
you
he-
bring it back under your leadership, and we'll
And
go
if it-
from there.
Okay,
Are
let's
you
do
good
that.
with- Are you
I'm
good
good
with that?
yes.
We'll do our due diligence on
Can
your
you do-
behalf,
yes.
and we will come back.
Bring it back and
Yep.
y'all can say, I told Tony I would do that. And out of respect to him saying I would do it.
Fair enough.
I did it. Do I have anything else? I know, this wasn't supposed to be about me just doing all this.
No, this is opening a lot of dialogue.
Who
That's
else?
good. That's,
Billy, don't you have something else?
You covered the areas that I was.
I'll see if I can find one more.
Let me just add it.
absolutely have to, but that's okay.
Let me just share some good news with you that I just got from my city commissioner in New Smyrna Beach, because we partner very well with our cities. I work real hard with my cities in my district, Mr. Chair. I'm just saying. But Jake Sack, city commissioner in New Smyrna Beach, said, "Thank you, Volusia County Council, for your help with flashing beacon crosswalks, beachside.
How'd you get those?
2 for Seawoods, New Smyrna Beach, and 1 for Ocean Walk in the county. Thank you, Vice Chair Deb."
Well, you've got too good of a pull with FDOT or somebody.
We had one.
You engage, you work, I fix things, I pick things up, I put things up, you know where that comes from.
The only other one I
We
have
fix
is on
things. We're fixers.
a matrix on, on pay and so forth in the future, and that will probably come at a financial, workshop where we do that.
Sure.
And as far as the setting of the goals, which we are required by charter to do, I think we have these set. They're laid out there. If possibly, Jim, you could give a summary of what 4 or 5 of those goals are objective. Mhm.
Can I bring up one thing?
Sure. Oh, you can bring up 10.
Having these conversations, and I was in an hour or so conversation last night with Faith. It seems like everybody on the east side has a piece of the puzzle, but no one's communicating at all to one source.
right.
I'm talking with Faith, or they're talking to me, and then I find out that they're also talking with the 501c3 that has just newly been formed. And I know kind of about that, and then I hear that there's new board members on that, and then we still had the Wise Men. You know, does anybody know what base we're on here, or where it's heading?
Let me share what I know.
That's been the
Okay.
problem.
I met with Mayor Henry, and this was before they just got confirmation that their 501c3 had been approved. I met with the Faith Group and looked at their 110 or 120-page document. And this is the thing, we're all getting hit from every different side
That's it,
on this.
exactly.
And I think where we are, I think we're making progress, because we have put our cards on the table as a county. I put my cards on the table, not your cards, not our cards, but I said, it's basically in your court. And what Daytona is committed to is a certain amount of funding. They're going out looking at certain amount of funding from the others, and they're looking at now at trying to do a modified plan of what Faith has proposed, because I looked at it and I said, your numbers are too top-heavy on your services. I mean, you're looking at 80-something% of your money,
Admin.
admin, and they're out there wanting to hire a $120 an hour psychiatrist.
Yep.
And I said, that isn't gonna work. I looked at the plan that they did in Tallahassee. They get volunteers to do that. And if we've got people in that we're gonna chart and keep up and maintain, you don't need an MD to talk to these people initially, to assess them and to understand what their needs may be. Then if they do have mental health issues, and a person that's a social worker, a good social worker can tell and determine certain needs that they may have, whether it's drug, alcohol, whatever dependency they may have, and then put them in a program or an area somewhere else. The money they were gonna spend, they were gonna be able, if I already said this, I'll be quiet, 3 cents a day, 3 cents or something like that. They can feed, house, clothe, for like 10% of $101.5 or $1.6 million.
Leon
budget.
counties,
Huh?
Leon counties?
No, this is what the faith group has said.
Oh,
Using Leon County is all totally
yeah.
non-government support.
That's what okay, I was confused.
And there are people, and this is one reason I also asked Tony, is because he helped put that program together in Leon County.
Yeah.
He even feels that there may be a chance to get funding from the individual who is put that together, who is an individual. And they house 360-something people. 363, I think, is what they housed this last week. And they also have homes on the location, on the area. Jim and I met prior to my meeting with Derek Henry and laid out some thoughts and some ideas on where we could go on some of the things, just as far as...
Based on the county's model.
Right, on the county's model. And
And the county's model is what DeLand did? Is that what
We
we're,
will-
is that what we're all
basically.
in agreement?
and what we just,
They have to
Yes.
own it, own the issue, own the facility,
And no
do the
operating
operating
hours.
costs, and we're capital.
and here's what the two things we were looking at and debating was being, if they want to choose to do their project either on the Daytona property, which is higher and drier, or the next to Stuart Marchman, which is wetter and colder, if there could be some maybe help on relocation of services
Utilities.
or utilities, because right now it's easy to do at where it is, but that could be a total part of a total package. And I said, that's what we would be willing to look at and say we'd do it. But they can raise the money, I think, and I feel, through their social services, their faith-based groups, and the volunteers. The CEO Alliance is pushing it big time. In the meantime, I'm sure y'all are the same way. I'm getting calls from half a dozen council members from different cities, different people that are involved on the outside, and I texted, but I didn't send it last night. He wanted to talk with me, I said, I'm tired of talking, and I really kind of am.
Yeah.
I mean, how many more times do you need to
Yeah.
talk to people about the design of this or the,
Right.
or a location of it? I'm ready to get it done and move on, and I think it's in the court, their court. They're moving it forward.
You're saying Daytona's
Daytona.
court?
Yeah.
I think
Okay,
Daytona
I
is,
want that to be very clear that we're all seeing that in the same way, because as I'm talking to a group that are telling me that's not what they're hearing. So I thought when we left the council meeting the last time and Deland had this project worked out, all the pieces and all the players had pulled the puzzle together, that we said we wanted that as the model.
Joyce?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the model, but it's, for me, it's funding.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes,
Right.
exactly.
And whether or not you can build the building, and have the land, and the cost about approximately what we paid for the land, which is more than what had agreed to for Daytona, then I'm not opposed to putting in a little capital money.
That's what we're talking, capital,
I
not
understand
operating.
that,
But not
Yeah,
for
But
the
what I'm
funds, though.
hearing you say is capital.
I got it wrong. I mean, I'm not opposed to putting in a little bit of operational fund at the beginning, if we don't use all of the money.
And I'm not,
Yeah.
and I'm not
money.
either.
Seed money,
And I'm
okay,
not
so
either.
we're
I'm doing
all,
something.
okay.
We're not
Because
all on the
there's-
same page.
Well, no,
No,
but,
don't go
there.
but
But
no,
I just
but,
wanted to make,
yes.
that just.
But
Well,
let's-
I just
let's
wanted to know
get-
that
let's
there was
get
still
them-
conversation out there, because there's so many different stories that are out there. So many people pulling, and I know you and you, we're all hearing it on the east side. And I would just like, let's get this,
I would
everybody bring your information together and let's discuss
I've been having
it.
meeting after
Oh, my
meeting with
gosh.
everyone just to get a
Well, we all-
feel and
Yes.
a good foundation of where
Yes,
everybody
yes.
stands.
Okay,
And
here's how you,
everybody
they're not-
stands.
here's how you
Yeah.
fix it. You want to fix all of this? You want all the meetings to stop?
It's us saying,
No,
look, here's
nope,
the deal.
Nope,
No,
nope,
no.
nope, here's how you
Saying
fix it.
y'all need to get
Nope,
together and make
nope.
it, do it yourself.
Nope, here's how you fix
Fill us
it.
in, Jeff.
Here's how you fix it.
Fix it.
Bring me a contract. It's all about the contract with your funding avenues. If you
that's what
don't
it
have
should
the
be.
funding
Here's where we
avenues
stand.
and you
This is-
don't have a
Yeah,
contract,
We don't have anything to talk
we
about.
have
Yeah.
no conversation.
Yeah.
I won't have another meeting, and let me ask you this. You're talking about this I'm gonna ask my other colleagues here about this report that's out there. I heard there's a report out there that Faith or Daytona has, and it's what, 100 pages or something?
110, I think, 100 and something.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, right, I've got it. You wanna read it?
No,
Oh.
and I'll tell you why. I have yet to be contacted. When I have Channel 9 News and Channel 13 News say, let me send you a link so you can see it and will you comment, my answer is no.
I told him the same
If the
They told me
agency,
that it's a work in progress.
well,
Also, I have what they have, if it's in progress, where am I gonna put my time in?
well, my point is, I have yet to be contacted, and I'm not gonna talk to the media about something I haven't seen,
Yeah.
that I have not been contacted about, so in my world, it doesn't exist, I haven't seen it. I'm not gonna comment on it, so there's no need to discuss anything that's not been brought forward and not in contract form, and that's what I'm
Well,
waiting on.
if you wanna
That's
go,
up to them.
if you wanna go sit with them like I did for 2.5 hours.
Nope,
Yeah,
bring me a
yeah,
contract.
I've done that.
And that
I
would.
can tell you,
and that-
I
and
think
that-
they're getting it though, because after the DeLand meeting, I had, at least 2 or 3 different people of some of those different groups contact me and say, look, we get it now, we're gonna work, and they said within a week, and I haven't seen anything, but
Well, as
but
of
they're-
last night.
they're knowing, okay, we need to,
Some groups will just badger,
That's not
think
news
that
to
you're gonna
them.
give in.
yeah.
Yeah, that's not news
Yeah.
to them,
Yeah.
Heather,
Yeah.
that's not
Yeah.
news to them.
Well, there's no giving in, and that's it, I think we all just need to say this is where we stand, but I'm glad that we're actually able to, now we
Discuss
all
this.
know
This
where
is
we actually
great.
do stand.
Uh,
So
and-
that's good.
Yeah, we know we can do capital, and I'm not one that's slamming the door and they come and they say, we're $5,000 short a year, and I wouldn't say no to
No.
that. So, I mean, that's
So when
just
is a
me.
contract
But
a
not $4
contract?
million.
Bring
When
us a con,
when is
bring
due
us a
diligence, a
contract.
contract, an agreement,
Bring it and let us look at it.
So again, let me just read.
Okay.
So we're all feeling that Daytona needs to take the lead on this. Is this,
Daytona has
is agreed that they've started
taking
this?
the lead.
Okay.
And how they agree to work.
Yes, that's,
And here's
well,
the-
that's what I heard from one, and then I hear
Well,
something.
here's the other part of it. When, and it was in the paper, I knew it, we all knew
Yeah.
it before that.
But he's-
But when Hope Place opens, that's gonna free up 90 beds,
Yeah.
okay? For a temporary solution
Mhm.
for some of the overnight, and it's not for the people that we can put into a rehab, half of the 80% or half of the 75% that might be able to put back into Homes First, or be able to put back into jobs or into Section 8 housing or somewhere. We can move those through and get those
Yeah,
out,
That's
and
gonna
that's
be
the
from
goal.
West Side as well,
Yes.
so all over.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
It's
Well,
all over.
And I do hope when the press reports this,
Oh, they're not even here.
that, yes, that they do hear that we are willing, we want to resolve these issues, and we're working together,
Yes.
and we're just wanting everybody to come together instead
Somebody
of
play
hitting us from
kumbaya.
all
I know, I
sides.
want a contract, I don't want kumbaya, I want a contract.
Well,
I want a
I just
contract.
want to make sure that it's understood that we're not shutting the
Sorry,
door.
Dustin. Sorry,
We're just
Dustin.
saying, please, come together with if you're all working together but you're not pulling your pieces of the puzzle together, come to us when the puzzle's put together.
No contract, I don't
Yes.
want a puzzle.
Yeah,
No
exactly.
contract.
I
No
think
more
you're
fluff.
gonna, I think you're gonna get some people who need a little guidance, who are gonna get straightened out. But it won't be long before people start seeing that there is a group of people that don't wanna work, ain't gonna work, wouldn't get a job if it was given to them unless they were made in charge and could just sit there all
So
afternoon.
we also need strategic
And
planning
it
to
won't
address
take
that.
long before the community says, why are we
Yeah.
paying for this?
Well,
And then the next thing you know, it's flip-flopping around like a dead mackerel on the end of a pier.
But that's why we need law enforcement on board, that's why we need everybody on board at the same time.
I love
working
the
Well,
towards
I
this.
keep wondering, because the city of Daytona Beach has land out there by the county jail, correct, Jim? And I think the piece of land that they want us to donate is actually owned by Stuart Marchman, correct?
But there's no utilities, there's,
Uh,
Wet.
And,
yeah.
and actually, I think, after my conversation, they were open to using the Daytona property to look at it.
But again, are they looking at,
That's fine with me.
that was
Well,
brought
there's-
up the other day, are we looking
I
at
don't-
Daytona Police?
Yes.
They can
oh,
work that
no.
out.
But that's, we don't need to be in the
We don't need to
weeds.
get in the weeds.
No, the
I
only-
don't wanna get into, that's Daytona's problem.
No,
That's
the
not
issue,
ours.
the issue we talked to them
ours.
about was, if they wanted to use their own property, the utilities could be part of a capital thing.
Right.
The other thing is that clearly, if they're gonna do this and they're gonna run it, it should be in their own jurisdiction, so their own police have authority.
Right.
But your issue is, it's not all this lack of people coming together. It's one thing and one thing only. Daytona Beach will not own the issue.
Well,
This whole thing would
They're-
stop,
they're- I
but they
they're-
think.
They're moving toward it now.
They're
Like,
moving
they're
towards it,
talk-
but that's been the problem. The problem has been, because when you say a contract, you gotta have somebody who'll sign it. And when they've realized they have to own the issue, it'll all resolve itself.
and it's gonna happen within
in
178
2
days.
So
And I
2 weeks
think-
ago, they said, all right, we get it, so let's
Who's
just
they?
give
And I
them
think-
time.
I
Who's
think,
they?
All the people that I had.
Okay, add that to my add that to my 2.5 years of days.
I think the DeLand project shows that, there's a way to do it.
Right.
And it also shows that we are on board as a council with the way to do it.
So
And
how can
hopefully-
they not?
And that should communicate, well, and
Yeah.
hopefully,
Yeah.
that should communicate a very powerful message. If they don't get that,
I
I
think
don't
they
think
do.
they're gonna get anything, to be honest with you.
Feed off of that, I mean, I don't know how well DeLand is now doing with getting the money that's being promised, you know. But they can feed off of that.
That's how
They're going to,
What about the cities?
That's always the nut to crack. No, to Orange City and Deltona.
they're getting on board.
No, the west side, the ones that came together and were saying
The-
that they
DeBerry.
were all
I think they would.
very Deltona. They were very Deltona that were, I think they're in all too.
They're trying to get them to put up money.
It,
All right, well, it looks like we're all on board on all the issues, so I think we're,
is it, I was gonna say, does anyone have anything else that they wanna just throw out there? What I wanna do is, I just wanna thank all of y'all for being willing to do this. I think that it's helpful to me. I hope it's helpful to some of you that we can sit and talk in this kind of dialogue.
it was
I
for me.
feel much easier sitting around a rectangular square table than I do at a dais where
Would
we
you like
can't
to
see
change, we
each
can
other.
change the
And I
DS
can
too,
sit close
Mr.
to
Kelly.
two of you.
And we can change the
Sharon.
configuration of in the DS.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I just think that this process, everyone around this table, in this room, want this county to be successful.
Exactly.
And we may not agree on everything, but we must always be willing to agree to disagree and move forward for the greater good. And so I think when we come together like this, it just, we're all strong-minded individuals, strong-willed. And so what we have to do is just work together to do good for Volusia County in this state. Thanks for having this today. And I look forward for us being successful as we embark upon this next 2 years.
Hoorah,
for these.
right?
Hoo-yah! Yes. And if there's nothing else to say,
one other
Jim,
comment.
sorry.
One other comment, thing that thank you, I'll let you go on that, but one other issue that I would like the council to be updated on, because we are moving forward, and some issues that I know are gonna be coming forward, if you could, doesn't need to be a workshop, but agenda sometime in the next several months after this legislative session too, an update on commercial aerospace and its impact on economic development, where we are in combining it even with Embry-Riddle. And we should have an update, hopefully, on the EIS at some point with that, with Space Florida and a couple other opportunities that we're looking at and all the, what's gonna be coming in. I think it would be helpful for the council to be grounded in just where we are now and what that means and what the impacts are. So when the time comes, because the previous council, when we were in negotiations, we called it Project Panther at the time, it was Blue Origin. When we were in negotiations with them, when we were at the table, and we did not lose it because we
because of
did
us.
anything wrong. It was just, that was a location. And the good news in that, actually, is we forced the Air Force and NASA to open up a launch site down there and get a little competitive in some area that had not been used. So that's what happened there. But going forward then, when the manager negotiates in these big projects, and now since there's no incentives at the state level, and if Enterprise Florida goes away, let's assume it does, the only strength that we have is that Brevard used up all their incentive money for Blue Origin, because Blue Origin went there. But behind Blue Origin is coming the UAL, United Auto Alliance. Yeah, you've got everybody coming, Virgin Galactic, I mean, there's a whole list coming right behind him. So the manager, when he negotiates, when he's in that position, because of the Florida Sunshine Law, and these contracts are so big, Blue Origin was 350 jobs that averaged 75,000, averaged. So we want our incomes to go up, like we talked about, the average wage. This is, in clean industry, this is what we're looking for.
Space is a no-brainer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but, well, with rocket science, this is no brainer. So, but at that stage, when he negotiates, he needs freedom to move around the budget. So the council told him that we had, you are free
It's the
to move
previous
around the
council.
budget with incentives, because when you get a major corporation, anybody like that, last thing they want is on the front page news. Volusia County negotiating, the manager had to come back and request incentives from the county to negotiate with Blue Origin or Flintstones or whoever the heck the project or corporation
The
is.
Jetsons would be better.
That's a good one. So, there's a mindset here with economic development and the budget process to give the manager leeway to do what he needs to do on behalf of Volusia County and freedom to move around the budget within certain parameters to go forward, and that's critical, but you have to understand not understand, but just get an update, not understand. You need to know where we are, and it's a big project.
Well, we need to pay close attention because you've got a Speaker of the House that is intent on getting rid of corporate welfare,
Right.
and that is his. So we could be very well, the state could, the cities and the counties and whatever could be crippled by that, what he's trying to accomplish.
Told the former
No.
state representative that his friend and former roommate is not my friend.
Well, I think if they take that position, I think it already hurt us in the space industry once, on the one set of jobs we were looking at. That's the industry that would really hurt us on, because they expect to get incentives.
If there is a good part to it, I don't know that there's a companion bill to that in the Senate, and I think the Senate will kill it, but that's just, you political experts know that better than I do. Don't you, Frank?
Stay tuned.
So you think it might, anyway, you had some, Jim?
Only that Maria has your copies for all of you as you leave here, and this was the, from the meeting we had the other night, the dinner, where Team Volusia had their strategy for economic development. Your document should be, Betty has them. The document, we're handing it out today. This is the full document.
Please take time to look at the little video.
We will.
Not for me, I'm not, just look at it. It's all about us. It's not about any one of us, but it's about all of us, so.
Expenditures will be in a subsequent meeting, not on the 16th.
An-
Yeah.
Anything else? Thanks again. If not,
I'm gonna
thank
move-
you all.
I think to March 16th.
2:19, the meeting is adjourned.